Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Women in Leadership Talk podcast. I have Miss Wendy Pace here with us today, all the way from Georgia. She's had a roundabout all across the U.S., and so we're excited to tap into her knowledge and expertise today. And Wendy is the owner and founder of Pace Setting Media. And I'm excited to have her on our phone call or our podcast today because we're going to get into a hot topic that everybody's talking about right now, which is artificial intelligence, more from a marketing perspective. So welcome, everyone. Wendy, thanks so much for joining us all the way from Georgia. We appreciate you being here today.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's great to have you. And I want to thank our audience. We know you're listening in from 48 different countries around the world. So thank you for chiming in and listening. And hopefully today you're going to take away some great nuggets that you can utilize either in your professional or in your personal life. So let me give you just a little bit of insight about Wendy, and then I'll quit talking for a minute and we'll just jump into conversation with her and let her do some talking. So Wendy has a very nice, well-rounded background from a marketing perspective. She's very strategic and results-driven, but she's also well-versed in AI, algorithms, and digital marketing. And that has a particular focus on platforms like LinkedIn and TikTok. And, a lot of us use both of those platforms. And so I thought this would be a really great conversation today. She also strongly advocates for businesses to explore TikTok, shedding light on the importance of AI in crafting social media marketing strategies. And this is in an an era, of diminishing attention spans. And isn't that the truth, Wendy? We're like flash. If you don't get us in a flash, we're gone. And she emphasizes the significance of live videos and dynamic content. And so I thought this conversation would be really interesting to our audience because it actually can touch on your professional branding, your personal branding, but also how you might engage as a consumer. And if you're an entrepreneur, how to use marketing strategies to really enhance your business. So again, Wendy is from Pace Setting Media, and we'll get her to give us a website at the end of our conversation today. So Wendy, welcome again. And I'd love for us just to jump in and maybe talk about what, your background and what has led you to where you are today with regards to social media marketing and AI.
Well, in a nutshell, I went from corporate marketing to starting Pace Setting Media all in a weekend.
Oh,
My son was leaving for college and he was my third adult. He was the other grown up in the house. And my youngest has epilepsy, and so she couldn't drive. Corporate marketing had me traveling all over the world. I was over the US, Canada, Australia, and Brazil for the company that I worked for. So lots of travel, lots of not being home, and that wasn't going to work. So fast forward, a friend of mine who was also in marketing said, I want to do social media. I want a more robust social media presence. And I said, yeah, you give that to an intern. She's like, no, I'm serious. And I was like, okay, light bulb moment. If there's one company looking for a more robust social media presence, there's 5. I just had to find those 5, and I did. So here we fast forward 9 years, and Pace Setting Media has been in business for 9 years this July.
wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
And I'm sure that was a big lifestyle change, going from traveling the world and having responsibilities in a variety of languages, but also just different demographic and geographical backgrounds. So wow,
Exactly.
good for you. And so why marketing? Like what got you into marketing in the first place?
It's interesting. I am fascinated with the way people receive messaging. So my degree is actually human communications, which always made me laugh because I was like, well, is there a degree in animal communications? Because human communication could be the one I'm gonna be best at. So, but that whole degree, when I was in my studies, was understanding how people are receiving messages when given, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to understand where you're meeting that person at, and they talk about it in the sales journey. Where are you meeting your customer or client in their sales journey, or when they're seeking you out? and understanding the mindset. So one of the things that I love about social media is that your message, though the same, needs to be slightly different or tweaked, whether it's coming to them from Facebook or LinkedIn or TikTok or Twitter or Instagram. And now you incorporate imagery as well as messaging, right? Because you can have an image that's giving a different message than what you're actually verbally or contextually saying. So it allows you to just tweak yourself and be like, okay, this audience I'm meeting on this plane, right? Because Facebook, I always say, is the warm fuzzy. That's where
Okay.
you want to talk about it was your receptionist's birthday and she's hitting 21, or your head of IT got married. People are looking for that relatability, or you're cheering on your favorite college football, or you're sharing a recipe because it's a special holiday. That's where you're hitting people on Facebook, right? And you're like, why would a company do that? Because it's the warm, fuzzy side of them. People kind of want to look behind the screen. They get the professional side on other platforms. So when you look at LinkedIn, that's your opportunity to show your expertise.
Mhm.
LinkedIn is not where you share your favorite cake recipe or that your receptionist's birthday. That's where you show off why your company is the expert in what somebody's seeking out.
Right.
Then you go over to TikTok and you've got a different demographic. And a lot of people are like, oh, TikTok's for kids. Not so much anymore. Gen X has invaded TikTok and they are there and they are staying because they're being heard and they've got a platform where they are influencing, I would say, the greatest amount of people is going to be Gen X now on TikTok.
Interesting.
So that's where people are starting to sell. You'll see a lot of affiliate marketing happening, a lot of those mompreneurs who are trying to make a few extra bucks selling,
Mm.
everything from cookware to shelving, whatever it is. And they're making videos and doing it. So the influencer on marketing is huge for 2024. And a lot of companies are going, well, uh, how is that going to work for me? I don't know any influencers. I'm not going to pay. You create influencers. So a small company can definitely, if they're creative enough, and finding what's different about their product and highlighting that in a really unique way on a video, whether they're utilizing a popular hashtag or they're utilizing a song that's popular, that's getting a lot of clicks. These are the ways you have to kind of keep thinking outside the box every time you're looking at any kind of social media marketing.
Wow. Wow. You've already said like so many things that I'm like, okay, and I love how you just summarized it, right? Because, um, just even when you think about Facebook, that's kind of behind the scenes, the warm and fuzzy, it's the relatability versus LinkedIn. And, LinkedIn is, I mean, its own anomaly, right? With
Right.
expertise, professionalism. And then the TikTok thing, like, you know, that I want to get into that for a little bit, like, because I'll just use myself as an example. I've sort of resisted TikTok, to be honest, only because there's so much controversy, right? Like, should we
Yeah.
be on it? Should we not be on it? But yet you see it growing and you see the impact that it's having. So how do you take somebody like a coach or an accountant or a lawyer, like, how do you tap into that market on TikTok? Like,
It's a great platform for those industries, I
okay.
feel, because it allows you to share tidbits of information in short little bites, right?
Mhm.
You don't have to do a long, drawn out webinar.
Right.
You can give them 5 top things to do if you're a coach, if you're looking to improve your self-esteem or improve your self-worth or whatever it is, or improve your um what is the word I'm looking for? The way you see your business or driving your business, right? you give these little nuggets of information and you're in and out, pop, and people keep scrolling. And then they like your stuff. And then
Right.
all of a sudden you're gaining a following. And then people are, so you're developing a relationship online via TikTok.
Got it.
Just like you used to do in Facebook, right? You used to give them nuggets of information and a little, whatever size graphic. It was like, here's your 5 best teas for getting over a cold, right?
Right.
So TikTok's the same way, but now you can use your face, and
Right.
you're developing, people feeling like, I know this person, I trust this person.
Yep.
Because they keep seeing you via TikTok and they feel like they've got a relationship, especially for younger generations where their whole relationship scenario is online.
Yes.
Right. Us Gen Xers, we still pick up the phone. We still want to type
Talk
the
to
email.
somebody.
We want to talk to a person, right?
Yes.
Don't give me a bot. I don't want a bot.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be happy. But younger millennials and Gen Z are like, no, give me a bot. I just ask me the questions, prompt me, because I really don't want to talk to a person. So understanding where each generation is at and their communication styles is also reflective in the way these platforms work and utilize.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's kind of where my question was going, because if, let's say, for an example, you're an accountant and you're looking for the Gen X, right? You're gonna tailor that message to attract those individuals.
Right.
But then how do you grow that following, right? Like how do you find other Gen Xers that are gonna want to, learn from an accountant, like things you should do and prepare for tax season or whatever it is.
Right. So this is where the content is key that
Right.
you're generating. It's not just general. So Gen X, what is the whole name? What's the reason behind the name? We are the middle generation. We're stuck between our aging parents and our kids who won't launch, right?
The sandwich generation, yes.
So we're the ones that we're going to have a different tax need. And if you generate, so for an accountant who's getting ready for tax season, which I have a number of them as clients, one of the things you're talking about is fraud, right? Which we were talking about before, what to look out for. But you're also in a special, maybe you have a parent dependent.
Mm-hmm.
So doing a whole TikTok on how do I file a parent dependent? My parent just moved in with me. What, how do I do their taxes? What do I do now? Can I claim them? So and it's odd. I think, I don't know if this is just like my brain and the way I'm wired as a person in marketing, but I'm constantly like, whenever information comes into me, I'm always thinking, how can I use that for the client, whatever client it is that I'm working on? And I'm like, oh, there was a hailstorm in Texas. Yeah, I've got to remember that because I've got a client in Texas that's a public adjuster. But it's this kind of bits of information that is constantly coming in that we have to always be aware of and gear our content that we create for the audience. So you're meeting the audience where they're at, right? Yeah. My whole thing with pace setting media was making you the answer to the question somebody's researching or looking up.
Love it. Love it. Okay, that's awesome. Well, and so that takes me to this, you and I were talking about this earlier about how AI has started to shift even the way that, we market to consumers. And what are the things that consumers should even be aware of, right? Like the example I used with you earlier is you and I are having a conversation, let's say about, I don't know, let's say spice racks.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, I'm getting all these alerts in my phone saying, oh, Vicky, Amazon has these spice racks. Like what is happening, Wendy?
Well, it used to be that you could shut your microphones off to all your apps so that they couldn't listen to you.
Okay.
But they're still listening to you, no matter what. Data is the gold standard, right? The more data they get on us, the more they can tailor things to us. So yes, you had a conversation with somebody. I bet you nickels to dollars that your mic was on in one of your apps and you're not aware of it. And Google picked it up and they said, oh, she's looking for trips to the Mediterranean, or oh, she's looking for a spice rack, or oh, she's looking for a labeler. whatever it is. And that goes out through the algorithms and it brings it up. The other thing that people need to understand about AI is that it's not only tailoring your ads, it's tailoring your news. It's
Mm-hmm.
tailoring everything that comes before you on a screen, depending on what you read, where you live, what you do for a living. All of that information is being taken in, and it's being compiled, considered, and regurgitated to you in the form of ads, in the form of news stories. It
Mm.
wants to put in front of you what it thinks you're going to click on based on your behavior. But imagine what church you attend, whether you register your car on time. All of these things are significant to AI determining what kind of person you are and what's being put in front of you. Now, the thing is, if people are, a lot of people are like, well, I don't want AI, oh, I don't want Big Brother over my shoulder. Sorry, too late. The minute you open that app, the minute you put yourself on Facebook, you would have to really take everything offline in order to isolate yourself or from giving any information. And you're still going to give information every time you use your debit card somewhere.
Yes, that is very true. Well, even the conversation we were having when we started about, the banks and how information is transferred and translated,
Right.
and making it harder and harder to do your business, because they are watching, right? Or
Yeah.
listening or whatever. Um, I find that really interesting. So AI is definitely here to stay, and
Right.
there are, I think, some very positive usage is for that, especially if you are an entrepreneur or a solopreneur, being able to utilize AI to your advantage to help
Right.
with, different things. But even as a, not as an entrepreneur, but as a professional, like there's still, I think, a lot of advantages to using AI, but there's also dark sides to it, right?
There are, and one of the things that we have to be really, really careful about, especially when it comes to news, right,
Hmm.
is that, and I hate to sound like some kind of conspiracy theorist, but voice is being replicated. They can now take your face and make it do whatever they want it to do. So that video snippet is very possible that they can recreate something that you didn't actually say.
Yeah.
Um, One of the things people have to look at is when determining between AI and reality is you have to look at the fine details. And here's the problem: we're not paying attention,
Yeah.
right? We talked about this. Attention spans are, there are goldfish with more attention span than some of humans on this planet. But people are taking things at face value without realizing the person that they're looking at or the video that they're listening to is actually an AI generated person.
Well, I think that's a really great point that you bring up. And we just saw that with the Super Bowl with Taylor Swift, right? And then all of
Mm-hmm.
a sudden that went viral, and they were trying to shut it down. But the average person who doesn't have millions of dollars could not have ever gotten that shut down. Right.
Right.
And that's an example. Or even what you and I were talking about earlier, when the bank called me and I was like, my question was, is this a bot or is this a person? Like, because
Right.
I really wasn't sure. And getting more sophisticated all the time. But to your point, we are accelerating and moving so fast, and there's so much complexity. We're not slowing down enough to listen or to look at the
And
fine
consider.
details. Yeah,
Right.
and
Yeah.
consider that this could be fake or
Right.
altered or whatever you want to call it. And I don't take that, Wendy, as conspiracy theory, because I mean we've seen a lot of that even accelerate, I think, more through the pandemic,
Right.
seen more and more of that happening. And so it's our responsibility as consumers of information, whatever media, marketing, whatever it is, like to really be paying attention to those things. But it's no coincidence. That's what I heard. It's no coincidence that you're getting marketed to the way you're getting marketed. So you're reading or
Right.
opening or seeing something or talking about something
Right.
that's talking what you're saying.
Because every person, if they're like, well, I don't buy anything online, I go to the store. Well, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter because you're still buying online. even if you walk into Barnes and Nobles and you bought, a stack of books, all of those titles were considered. Barnes and Nobles is saying, yep, she bought 16 self-help books on, I don't know, name a topic, on gardening at your best. And all of a sudden you're getting all these gardening ads. And there's good behind it because it facilitates information to the people who are actually get it, right? I put a Facebook ad together. Here's an example. I've got a new client. He's a country music singer, young kid, great, talented. And I was like, okay, this is new for me. How am I going to do this? So I'm able to go into Facebook. I'm able to pick not just demographics, but interests and actions. And Facebook then helps me create the audience for this, right? So his first ad that I put up blew up. He got, 30,000 views, and he was like, how did you do that? I'm like, well, there's hashtags, there's picking an audience, there's all of these steps that I went through to make sure that happened for you. And yes, you can go ahead and try and do that yourself, or you can let the professional go in and do it for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And your expertise is making sure that you are picking the right audiences and that, that person's getting in front of the right people.
Right.
So what are some of the more dark sides, I guess, of AI? Because I think, we've talked about the cloning or but what are some of the other things that consumers just need to pay attention to?
I would say AI's, the dangerous thing about AI is thinking that AI has replaced the library. There used to be a meme that went around that said, Google will give you 1 million answers, but a librarian will give you the right one. And saying that is to say that they have trusted sources that they have used for generations. And this is not to disparage anybody, but just because they're on YouTube does not make them an expert.
Yeah.
And now with AI, you don't even know if that's a real person.
Yes.
So you really, really have to do your research. You can't be lazy about it when it comes to news. When it comes to marketing, what it may do is it limits what you're seeing because you're no longer getting anything, like you're not doing the searching, right? So you're not coming upon new things so much as it's going to keep you in the lane that it thinks you want to be in.
Yeah.
So new experiences are not going to happen unless you search or seek them out. But if you're not getting inspired to look for those new ideas or experiences, then you don't know what to look or search for, right? Because you're not inspired, because AI is going to keep putting in front of you what it thinks you already want.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Really interesting. So that actually could be very handicapping or limiting, right? Because then your perspective actually gets smaller, and the hopes would be that we would be able to expand and get out of our box, but AI is actually putting us more into a box is
They are
what I'm hearing.
Yes.
And then there's the whole dark side of who's programming AI.
Right.
And is it a one-dimensional lens, or do we have the scope of diversity that we need to have as we accumulate all this information?
And what a lot of people don't understand is that AI, I wouldn't say so much that it's artificial intelligence at this point. I would say it is a very highly advanced search engine.
Yeah.
Because you only get out of AI what you put into AI.
Yes.
It's only going to be as responsive as the questions and commands that you place there. So if you don't know how to expand on that, and you're counting AI to give you a broader view of something, well, if you didn't ask it the right way, it's not going to give it to you.
Yeah. Great point. Yeah, that's really important. So, and I think that's an important message for our, with no matter what if you're using it for personal or professional, you only get out of it what you put into it. And so
Exactly.
you do have to expand, and get creative, play with it. Don't be afraid of it, but try it and see what you like from it or what you don't like from it. So Wendy, I want to shift gears for a little bit, and I am cognizant of our time, but I do want to talk a little bit about from a marketing perspective, because the whole branding piece is so important, especially when we look at platforms like LinkedIn and TikTok. You've sold me a little bit more on TikTok, but I'm still a little hesitant, right? Like just from that professionalism perspective. And my emphasis is on women and empowering women to build confidence and be very conscious as leaders. So from a branding perspective, if you're thinking about LinkedIn, what's your best advice, I guess is the question I want to ask, for helping someone really showcase themselves in a way that is authentic, but also very professional?
I think there's a number of ways of doing that on LinkedIn. And there's video, of course. So, and video is more and more important because people rather listen than read. So talking on subjects to showcase your expertise is a great way of building your professional brand. But I think another way of doing that is not just you sitting there going, today's topic, we're going to talk about blah, blah, blah. Because everybody's like, scroll.
Yeah. Attention gone.
Yeah. I think addressing a question or concern. Earlier in the podcast, I said, I try to make my clients the answer to the questions that somebody might be searching on. We're all searching for answers to something.
Great point.
And so that's your hook, right?
Okay.
So on LinkedIn, it might be imposter syndrome, right? You want to talk about imposter syndrome, and you're going to go, instead of saying, I'm going to talk about imposter syndrome, you start off with the question going, have you ever felt like a fake in the room?
Yeah. And
then you also have to be mindful of the language that you use, right? Because people will put this in different ways. They will state it in different ways. So you want to make sure when you ask AI to write your script for you, that it puts the question in as many different formats as it can think of.
Great point. Yep.
So that you're hitting not only the SEO on that, but I'm going to cast as big of a net as possible to bring in the audience so that you're utilizing the verbiage that is going to connect with the most amount of people.
Lovely. Lovely. Love that. And why is that important? Why, like if I'm working, let's say for General Mills, right? And I have my professional brand. I'm the vice president of sales and operations. Why is it even important for me to be out in society telling people that's what I do and that's who I am?
Because you're the expert, and people, they don't want to talk to your assistant. They want to talk to you. Everybody wants immediate gratification.
Yeah.
They want the answer yesterday. They want the fix today. Nobody wants to wait. So when you're the VP of something or the CEO of something and you're putting information out there, you've already coming from a level of authority. People are going to look at you and go, well, she didn't get there because she's in the typing pool. She got there because she has answers and she made responses and she fixed things and she changed things. And that's important to showcase.
Awesome.
Right? When you see speakers at different women's groups, they're not getting the secretary for the head of marketing at Coca-Cola. They're getting the person at Coca-Cola who came up with the latest campaign. You want to go straight to the top always. And that's where your branding should be, is saying, I'm the top of my game, because I have this much experience, and you build your brand off of that.
Nice, nice. And the reason I wanted to highlight that, Wendy, is because so many of women in particular sort of downplay that. And LinkedIn is a great platform to be able to amplify your voice and who you are, what you do, and not just for job opportunities, but just from mentorship, from support system, like just having that reach and that expand becomes, I think, really important for women in particular, but men too, right? And especially our young people. When you were talking earlier, like, they have no Gen Z, they have no desire to be talking on the phone or even emailing. I find they don't understand the value in creating those connections.
Right.
And LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is, these are all platforms to help you connect in a much different and bigger way. And that becomes important because we all know that it's not what you know, it's who you know. That can often be a game changer. Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yes. The other thing that most businesses need to realize is that you have different segments of the population based on the platform that you're utilizing, even based on the time of day you're there.
Yes.
Right. When you're scheduling that post, you need to take into consideration who's looking at this right now.
Yeah.
And what time of day is it hitting?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What days and what times?
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. And we went through that when we set up our newsletter, right? Trying to figure out what's the best day of the week to do a newsletter, because if it's during the week and people are busy and they're working, they're not going to take time to read a newsletter. Where if you put it on the weekend, they might scroll in the morning while they're having coffee and they pick up those nuggets. So totally agree with you. Like that becomes a really, important aspect of how we're engaging with different platforms. So Wendy, what would be, one sort of important tip you want to leave our audience with today before we leave? And also, let's make sure we let the audience know how to get in touch with you, reach out if they have questions. So I'm going to let you answer those before I go any further.
I would say one of the most important things that the audience needs to understand is that AI is still nothing without human interaction. Yes, you can use AI and you can automate your marketing, you can automate your social media content, but at the end of the day, you're still responsible for looking at the message that it's creating on your behalf.
Yeah.
And making sure that it is on point, because a lot of times it's not. So you have to just still be careful. It's not artificial intelligence. It's just a really powerful search engine at this point. Now, what it's going to be in 10 years, 5 years, 2 years, we're all waiting and watching, right? But as of right now, it's not play and go. You still need to pay attention.
Absolutely. Love that.
So if anybody wants to get in touch with me, it's real simple. I'm Wendy at pacesettingmedia.com. They can find me on LinkedIn, reach out to me on LinkedIn. They can find me on Facebook. Hell, they can find me on TikTok. I'm there too.
Awesome. And it's Wendy Pace on all platforms?
It is Wendy Pace on all platforms. So just look up Pace Setting Media. And you can Google me, find me online. I have multitude of articles that I've written on social media marketing.
Nice, nice. That's awesome. Well, this has been wonderful, Wendy, and thank you for joining us and sharing your expertise. I've certainly learned a lot today, and I love how you, especially on the AI front, I love how you have simplified it, that it is a powerful search engine. And 10 years from now, it could be something totally different, but yeah, and what you put in is what you get back out. So be very discerning about what you put in and checking. It's your responsibility to check it. Those are all really, really great tips. And so thank you. Thank you for being here and spending time with us today. And I want to encourage our audience, reach out to Wendy if you have questions, if some of the things that she said today, you find this, intriguing and you want to learn more, please do reach out. Or if I can help, reach out to me and I'll share that with Wendy. And thank you for being here. We know you have a choice as to what podcast you listen to. And, we certainly try to bring great guests to you so that you can learn and stretch and shift your perspective. As, Wendy shared earlier, sometimes you're only getting what you're putting in. So it's important, hopefully we can peak or tweak some things in your mind to get you to think a little bit differently or to expand the way you're thinking. And if you're interested in your own leadership and how you might be showing up, please go online at wilempowered, that's 1L. Take our free leadership quiz. It'll give you a lot of insight as to how you're showing up, and you'll learn some interesting things about yourself. And again, if you have questions, you can reach out to me directly at Vicki@wilempowered. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. And Wendy's given you, her contact information, so you know how to reach either one of us. So thank you, everybody. I'm so grateful to you for being here today and keeping our podcast alive and growing. And we'll look forward to seeing you at the next Women in Leadership Talk podcast. Have a great day.
Thank you.